It's often said that football is a game of two halves, and if ever you wanted a demonstration of that, it was there on show at the London Stadium today. The final score finishing West Ham United 2, Manchester United 1. And it could have been also different. At half time, I was sat there wondering what I'd witnessed in the first 45. We'd had two shots that had hit the woodwork. We'd had a golden chance that had been spurned by Diogo Dalot. And there was a great save towards the end of the second half by Lucas Fabianski, who'd come in for Alphonse Areola. Could have been 4-0. In a parallel universe, it was 4-0 at half time. But in this universe, it was 0-0. And you take that, you absolutely would. But let's, like a Quentin Tarantino film, we're sort of starting at the middle. We're going to wind back and we're going to go back to the beginning now. But before I do that, if you don't mind, if you're wondering who I am, my name's Gatesy, as it says down there, over there. My name's Gatesy, and I inhabit another West Ham fan YouTube channel called the West Ham Massive. And if I'm very fortunate, Gio will remember to put the link in the description below. So if you fancy popping over and seeing a little bit more of me rambling on, please feel free to pop across and say hello. Anyway, that's that bit out of the way. So the starting lineup was put out, an hour and 15 minutes before the kickoff. And here it is there. And obviously, there had been quite a few changeover from the Spurs game. I'd said in the preview that I did on the West Ham Massive about I thought that probably it was time for Fabianski to come back into the starting 11 for Alphonse Areola, who was shipping goals at his near post at an alarming rate. And there was a few more changes besides. I initially looked at Mavropanos and I thought that the omission of Todibo was a little bit harsh, but I later found out that he'd apparently been carrying some sort of injury. So, okay, fair enough. I can understand his thinking. Did look at the midfield, however, with a little bit of concern. Rodriguez and Alvarez and Soler coming in as well. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've not been overly impressed with what I've seen of him thus far, but I thought, okay, let's see how he goes. He's making his first start at London Stadium. We'll see how that pans out. But I couldn't work out whether he would be playing in central midfield and Paqueta would be on the left or vice versa. I wasn't quite sure. We found out sort of very quickly into the first half. And Bowen and on the right, Antonio, Summerville on the bench. That was a bit of a surprise. I thought that the smart money was on him to make a start. And obviously Souček was on the bench as well. That was the starting. Hang on, let me just press the right button there. Amateurs, what can you do? And as I say, the first half, we got absolutely battered, if I'm being honest. We got rinsed. It seemed to me, the first sort of 10, 15 minutes especially, we was playing passes that were lazy passes. They were getting intercepted with ease by Manchester United. Garnacho was a player that stood out for me. He's a player that I actually quite like. I rate him quite highly, actually. He was a thorn in our side down the Manchester United left, our right, just constantly putting Wan-Bissaka to the test. But to be fair, he held his own in that particular contest, I got to say. But like I say, we were just like very, very slack. We was giving the ball away. We didn't seem to be playing with an intensity that I think you have to play with when you play against the Manchester United. Now, I know this version of Manchester United is not the version that possibly people of my age and a little bit older are used to seeing with the Alex Ferguson years and winning leagues and European Cups by the dozen. This is not that version of Manchester United. Let's not forget that before the two teams clashed at London Stadium today, Manchester United has scored 7 goals in the Premier League. 7. I mean, that's absolutely piss poor. But I do think that whatever version of Manchester United you play, you play the history of the club and you need to sort of step up to the mark. This is one of the prestige clubs of the Premier League, of English football, indeed, European world football. So you need to bring the best version of yourself. And I don't think we did in that first half. I referenced Paqueta and Soler in the starting lineups. For me, they were absolutely anonymous. They were on the pitch, but they contributed absolutely nothing. Absolutely fuck all. In fact, less than that, if I'm being completely honest. Like I say, the woodwork was hit twice. I mean, Diogo Dalot, if you haven't seen it, go back and have a look. My God, that's an open goal. He's gone past the goalkeeper. He's done the hard work. I know he's not a striker. I know he's a right back. I know that. But for fuck's sake, he had the goal at his mercy. It was literally, it was harder to miss than it was to score. And he missed. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And as I say, Fabianski made a wonderful save down to his left-hand side, one hand, strong wrists, parried it, got it away, defended it well. And at half-time, I've got to be honest, I was sitting there going, he's got to change this, isn't he? He's got to change this, because otherwise this is going to go badly wrong. We're getting rinsed repeatedly. And to be fair, he did. He made a triple substitution at half-time. He withdrew Soler. He withdrew Paqueta. Who else did he withdraw? I'm trying to remember now. There was 3 substitutions that he pulled off. Mavropanos, excuse me. It was Mavropanos was the 3rd substitute that he made. He introduced Todibo. He introduced Summerville. He introduced Thomas Soucek. Say what you want about Thomas Soucek. He's a warrior. He'll cover every blade of grass. He's not the most technically proficient, but he is someone that will put his head where other people won't. You know, you look at him, he's got scars all over the place. His clarity he's spilled over the years where he's taken a boot to the nut and all that sort of stuff. I think he's great. Anyway, so we make the substitutions, and it could be argued one or two ways. I mean, on the one hand, you could turn around and say, aha, there he is. He's making game-changing substitutions, and we can sit here now knowing what we know and say that, yeah, they were game-changing substitutions, because one of the substitutions was a guy that in the second half really did rise to the occasion, Crescencio Summerville, and we'll come on to him again in a minute. But quite honestly, you could also sort of make the case that, well, maybe these are the players that you should have picked in the first place, because there's been a few times this season where he's made substitutions and we've looked and gone, I'm pretty sure that player should have really been on the pitch to begin with, in all honesty. But there you go. I mean, sort of like, and once the second half had started, I did feel that it was there was a certain rebalancing, a certain recalibration of the play compared to the first half, when we got completely dominated. For me, we seemed to sort of bridge that gap little by little. And Summerville in the second half, he was really the pace that he brought down that left hand side. He was electric. He really, really was. He kept them, the Manchester United backline, he gave them all sorts of problems. And then we got the breakthrough on, what was it, 74 minutes? And it came from Jarrod Bowen on the right-hand side. He cuts inside. He makes a move towards the penalty box from the right wing, plays the ball towards Danny Ings, who had then come on earlier in the second half. He had... Now, I don't believe for 1 minute, I do not believe for a singular minute that Danny Ings, the prime poacher that he is, the goal scorer supreme that he is, was doing anything other than shooting. That, although he gets an assist, technically, there's no way that he had a conscious thought to himself of, I'm just going to offload the ball to Crescencio Summerville because he's in a better position than me. Bollocks. I'm telling you now, he was trying a shot and he scuffed it. But it was serendipity, I think is the word, a beautiful accident. It was a beautiful accident. He scuffed his shot, and flying in at the far post was Crescencio Summerville, stretching every sinew in his body. Bang, have some of that. Got the ball past Onana. 1-0. The London Stadium erupted. Everything was claret and blue. There was bubbles everywhere. It was beautiful to see. It really, really was. There was quite a bit of injury time that was put on as well, though, to the end of the second half. Not just for the penalty shout that we're going to talk about in a minute, but Onana, I mean, Jesus Christ, he was down on the deck for what seemed like an eternity, and I thought to myself, my God, he's going to get rushed off to the Royal London Hospital. We're going to get a helicopter that's going to have to land on the centre circle, and they're going to have to take him to the Royal London. He's going to be on a life support machine. He's going to be on a drip. They have to put him in a medically induced coma. Oh my God, there was nothing wrong with him. And you sort of sit there and you go, my God, what? 50, 60 years ago, we had a guy called Bert Troutman playing in an FA Cup final with a broken neck, for Christ's sakes. And now we're reduced to this. He got brushed by Michail Antonio's knee and he was down for about half an hour. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so we're 1-0 up. Brilliant. Fantastic. But the thing is that sort of like, I thought that we should have put our foot on the accelerator. Man United were rocked back on their heels. They were all over the place. That was the time to capitalise. And instead, little by little, what happened was that we just sort of regressed. We just sort of like retracted back. We allowed them the space to sort of move on and put us under pressure, little by little. And then with 9 minutes to go, it was this move that Joshua Zirkzee got on the end of, flicked the ball on, and what was it, 3 yards from goal, there or thereabouts, Casemiro. No, I know he's an old man. He's past his best, but he's not going to pass that opportunity up. He just simply isn't. Bang, equalizer, 9 minutes to go. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And it went from this situation where you knew that at the final whistle, if it had been 1-0 to West Ham, you'd have had a load of Manchester United fans phoning up TalkSport, demanding that Erik ten Hag's got to go. He's crap, get rid of him, all that shit. Equalizer comes in, and you're probably now going to get just as many West Ham fans phoning in, demanding that J-Lo goes, as there is Manchester United fans saying the same about Erik ten Hag. But you know what? I still had a feeling that it wasn't done. I still had a feeling that there was going to be something happen. And sure enough, there it proved on the 90 whatever minutes, 89, 90 minutes. And to be honest, I was right in line with it. Bear in mind, I'm up in the gods. I mean, I'm back row of the stadium, 203. And so I couldn't really see it happening in real time. It's sort of like, I've seen it latterly since on Sky Sports, obviously. And there was a sort of like a half-hearted sort of cheer for a penalty, a collision in the box. It was, I believe it was De Ligt and Danny Ings that sort of came together, whatever. The play carried on, and you sort of like, I was sitting there thinking, well, there can't have been enough in it and all the rest of it, because a good minute or so went by and nothing really seemed to happen. And then all of a sudden, on the screens, it said that they were reviewing it for a VAR check. And I was like, fuck. Okay, let's have a little wee look here and see what goes on. And then all of a sudden, the referee trots over to the VAR. Now, we all know when that happens, 9 times out of 10, whatever the on-field decision was, is usually getting overturned. Now, obviously, the on-field decision was no penalty. So you're sitting there going, fucking hell. And I'm sitting there watching it. The referee, David Coote, has gone up to the VAR. Now, this is where I think that this is a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and I'd be interested to know what you guys think, is that the referee sitting there, at least he's looking at the monitor, and within shouting distance, because I was looking, I was straight at it. Matthias de Ligt is over his shoulder, and he's shouting, and sort of he's obviously going to be sort of like getting in the referee's ear hole and trying to influence the decision. I think that's fundamentally wrong, completely wrong. The ref should go to somewhere where there's going to be no outside interference. There's going to be no chirping at them to try and get them to sort of reconsider their decisions and all that shit. But anyway, he obviously looked at it. He was there for a good minute or two, watching it from different angles, replay, slow motion, real time, all of those things. And then eventually he's turned around, blown his whistle, done the little TV symbol, pointed to the penalty spot. And even from that point on, Manchester United just completely lost their heads. They were arguing. They were doing all sorts of shenanigans. And I mean, Bruno Fernandes, Jesus Christ, this is the captain of one of the great clubs of world football, Manchester United. And he's like a baby, mate. He's like an absolute fucking baby. He's got his bottom lips out. Oh, my God. Oh, you know, there, Bruno. Never mind. Jarrod Bowen, I mean, he must have been standing there with the ball for what seemed like an eternity. He's got a penalty to take that the future of West Ham could hinge on, because this make no mistake, he scores the goal and turns it into a 2-1 and we see the game out. Make no mistake, this could be a pivotal moment in our season. It really could. If he doesn't score it, well, it could go badly wrong. That was a critical critical moment, and it took an awful lot of bottle from Jarrod Bowen to just block out the outside noise, block out the outside world, know exactly what he was going to do before he was going to execute it, and he executed it perfectly. Took the penalty, passed Onana, bang, 2-1. Then we then had to sort of go through a minimum of 12 minutes. It actually turned out to be 14 minutes in the end of additional time, but we managed to see it out. We managed to sort of like just get to the final line, get to the finish line. 3 points. Referee whistle was blown. And as I say, this could be a pivotal moment in the season. It obviously remains to be seen. That's 9 games that we've played. We're actually now above Manchester United. We've got the same points, we've got the same goal difference, but we've scored more goals. As I say, Manchester United had 7 before the game kicked off. They've now got 8. 8 goals in 9 games. That's absolutely fucking pathetic. But anyway, I don't give a shit because I don't support them. I'm a West Ham fan, not a Man United fan. Thank you very much. As I say, look, did the manager make the critical changes? Yes, he did. Should they have possibly been players that should have been playing from the very start? I'd probably say so. And I'd probably give him a little bit of a leeway for Todibo if indeed there was a fitness issue. Then, okay, maybe he's got a bit of mitigation there. But I think everybody thought that Summerville and probably less people probably would. I get that he's a very divisive character. There's probably as many people as think he shouldn't be playing as there do think that he should. But the one thing I will say about Thomas Souček is that, say what you want about his technical flaws and whatever, when the shit's hitting the fan, he's there. He will stand up to be counted, and even though he's limited in certain aspects, he'll be there. He'll run through brick walls. And I do think you need characters like that. Be interesting to see what the manager goes with in the game against Nottingham Forest. I'm not quite sure I like a midfield of Rodriguez, Alvarez and Souček. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think Alvarez for me is a must. Souček for me is a must. I think Rodriguez is the one that I probably would drop out, if I'm being honest with you. But it'd be interesting to see. Does he bring back Paqueta? Does he bring Soler in? I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting one. Sort of like could even I don't know. What about Lewis Orford? It's a real shame that we've got a couple of the players out on loan at the minute that may have been able to put a little bit of pressure on other players and a little bit of doubt in the manager's mind as to maybe whether he should give them a go. But listen. As the old saying is, you can only piss with the cock you've got, right? There you go. Anyway, that's basically it from me. It was, like I say, archetypal game of 2 halves. First half, we got absolutely pummeled, but somehow managed to find ourselves at 0-0 by hook, by crook, luck, judgment, call it what you want. We got to half-time at 0-0 and then managed to see the game home. Was it a masterstroke from the manager? Was he just correcting the mistakes that he made on the team sheet before the ball was kicked? Listen, you've got a comment section below. Get stuck in, give us your opinions. But it's an absolutely fantastic result. It could be a season-defining, season-changing result, all depending how things go from here. But make no mistake, that was a very, very welcome win, and one that in the second half we deserve. Crescencio Summerville, for me, has nailed down a spot on the left-hand side. It'd also be interesting to see that when Kudus comes back from the ban, what does the manager do? You know, if he carries on playing like that, there's absolutely no way that you can bring Kudus and drop out Summerville and put Kudus on the left. So you're going to have to think of doing something else. For me, the answer's staring you right in the face. You move Kudus inside. You play Kudus as the playmaking role, just behind the central striker and just inside from Summerville. That's got to be the way to go for me, with Bowen on the right. The question is then, who do you put up top? I mean, I guess you could put the German with one leg. He was in the stands, apparently, celebrating the goal. Hope he didn't get an injury and sort of hurt himself, but never mind. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. As I say, drop a like on the stream. If you fancy it, pop over to the West Ham Massive and you can hear more of my ramblings, and I'll see you again soon. Come on, you Irons!